welcome to Cornwall. My name's Andy and I'm the People Engagement Officer here working for Cornwall Wildlife Trust. Today I'm at Upton Towans, which is one of our nature reserves and part of the larger dune system here known as the Towans, which is the Cornish word for sand dunes. The Towans is the second largest area of dunes in Cornwall and is situated on the north coast, and it stretches for roughly 3 miles between the town of Hale at the southwest end, and Hale is kind of over there somewhere behind those holiday homes, all the way over to Godrevy at the northeast end, and you may or may not be able to see Godrevy Lighthouse somewhere over there. There are multiple landowners along these dunes, with most but not all of them signed up to the project. Due to the complicated nature of ownership and the various management agreements in place, Cornwall Wildlife Trust are working here closely with an organisation called the Towans Partnership, who are an advisory body set up to aid communication and understanding between the various local stakeholders. So they're a really important partner working with the Trust throughout the Towans area. Okay, so if we think about what happens here now and what happened in the past, although tourism is currently the main industry in this area, with the sea behind me, the beach, there's a massive beach down there, and the dunes providing a playground for thousands of tourists in this area every summer, Cornwall used to be much better known for its mining industry. Mining was big business and used a lot of dynamite. Therefore, dynamite was also a big business. Due to this, in 1887, the National Explosives Company was created, and the sand dunes at Upton Towans were deemed the perfect place to build their factory. The construction of the factory took advantage of the landscape's highs and lows, with the dunes providing natural barricades between the many different buildings. As well as natural screening provided by the dunes, large kind of square-shaped artificial mounds were also built around some of the buildings. And if you have a look behind me here, you should be able to see a nice example of that kind of weird looking sand dune there. So why did they do this? Well, this was in the event of an accident. If there was an explosion, this would hopefully reduce the chance of other buildings being impacted on by the explosion and reducing the chance of a massive chain reaction. By 1890, the factory was in full swing and supplying the mining industry with up to 3 tons of dynamite per day. It soon became the biggest explosives factory in Cornwall, and even had a system of railway tracks to make moving materials around much easier. Some of those tracks were metal, most of those tracks were metal, as normally would be the case, but some of those tracks near the most dangerous buildings were actually made of wood to reduce the risk of sparks setting off an explosion. So although the factory did have a good safety record for its time, with the dunes helping with that, unfortunately accidents still happened. Buildings were destroyed and lives were lost in a variety of accidental explosions. The worst of these was in 1904, when 2 buildings were completely obliterated and 4 people were sadly killed. It was reported that the shockwave from this massive explosion travelled across the bay to St Ives. Now St Ives is about 3 miles away, and it's over there, the other side of the bay there. There. So 3 miles away, and the paper said shop fronts and house windows fell into the streets, which became covered in shattered glass. Apparently some windows were even broken in Penzance, and Penzance is about 8 miles away, somewhere over there. Unfortunately for the business, the decline of the Cornish mining industry and the end of the First World War reduced demand for its products. So after just over 30 years of business, the factory closed in 1919. In the next few years, the site was stripped of nearly all buildings and equipment, although there's still a few visible remains today. So for example, down here, you might just be able to see some concrete foundations down there. And there's still bits of railway track, and the odd building is almost complete, but most of it's gone. However, although most of the buildings are long gone, many of the square protective mounds that were built still form a part of the landscape here, and give Upton Towans quite a different feel to the rest of the dunes. The site is now designated by Historic England as a scheduled monument, so although the factory has been gone for 100 years, it hasn't been forgotten. In fact, the area is still sometimes known by its other name, which is Dynamite Towans. So that is the story of Upton Towans. I hope you've enjoyed this little insight into its history and that you now know why some of our Cornish sand dunes are square.